Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 156 of AllYouCanHear podcast. I'll be your host today, Patrick. And joining me today are my two crawling co-hosts.
It's Jonathan.
Oh, man, I had a bit. Hold on. Bring you another podcast creation from the mind of some sick animals who can't tell the difference. It's that cannon guy!
So in case you're wondering what we're talking about today, we'll be discussing, I would say, music's most eccentric genre.
You mean the best genre?
Simultaneously, the best and worst.
It could give you the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. Today, we'll be talking about nu metal.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this one. I have been waiting patiently for this one.
Nu metal's time has come around again, and part of our episode, we'll be going through sort of like what exactly is nu metal, sort of like its history, like what are some of the hallmarks of its sound, like notable bands, like our personal experiences with the genre, and just sort of like just the weird pop cultural impact that this genre has made. And to start, we're gonna get into a little of what exactly is nu metal, and just sort of as an overview, nu metal is a genre of music that began roughly in 1994, and it had a big prominence throughout the early 2000s, and starting around 2003 is when it really sort of started to die down. And the term nu metal actually came from a 1995 review of like a pre-release for the band Cold Chamber. And
God, that's a blast from the past.
Isn't it though? And most people point to the release of Korn's 1994 self-titled album as like the starting point of the genre, or that's where a lot of people will sort of begin any sort of discussion about the genre with them, owing it all to the band's like really heavy experimentation, I guess, and some would say wild experimentation with sort of like this genre of alternative metal. And starting from that point, slowly and surely, many musicians really became enamored with Korn's new sound. And from there, it was just a snowball effect. Many bands began to really adopt that sound and sort of perpetuate it, put their own spin on things. And it was from there that the genre really got going. And this sort of impact was not lost on Korn. They really sort of recognized the fact that they were sort of the kickstart of this genre, as evidenced by the title of their 1998 album, Follow the Leader.
Oh, yeah.
And really, with Korn, bands like Deftones and the Brazilian group Sepultura, they had a heavy influence on sort of the generation of the early start of nu metal.
Definitely. And sort of the context behind a lot of that was in the late 80s, like, you know, the late 80s was the hair metal thing. And even though, like, most of those bands were not great, but
what do you mean Twisted Sister?
God damn it. But I mean, it was basically just taking like a lot of the hallmarks of metal of the time and just adapting it to a more pop radio friendly context. But even those guys, especially the guitar players, you really had to have chops to be in those bands. Like, I mean, if you cannot, like, even like a lot of the shitty songs of hair metal have like some fucking killer solos.
Oh, for sure.
But a lot of that changed when hair metal was basically just killed with the release of Nevermind in '91, and you know, grunge became the thing, and you can sort of see how grunge really just dominated the '90s. Just sort of how everything from the especially the late '80s was very big and bombastic and party all the time. With bands like Nirvana, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, they came from a very darker, more definitely more emotional and sincere place. And metal, and this was sort of one of metal's answers to that, in that a lot of the nu metal guys, especially like I speak mostly from guitar because that's the most thing I'm familiar with. But a lot of the early bands you didn't really have to play chops. I mean, it was mostly just 4 chords. or even just like more just like atonal riffing stuff. But that being said, like it was just, it really captured the zeitgeist, and also this was also the time where hip hop was breaking into the mainstream. So it's definitely, there was a lot of incorporations of hip hop and funk and other things like that. And you see that, like, a lot of people also cite Rage Against the Machine as sort of like a proto nu metal band, even though I really don't consider them that. But they really brought in a lot of like the hip hop and funk elements that nu metal really took off with. Except that, you know, instead of Rage, where they played mostly in standard tuning, you know, most of the nu metal guys dropped it way down.
Way the fuck down.
And because it is interesting what you're saying, how like nu metal is sort of this weird melange of several different genres all mashed into one. And just from what the research I've done, like it's to, like we said, to a very positive extent with a lot of bands with their instrumentation and sort of the implementation of all these different genres. And a lot of times it's just sort of this weird, gross hodgepodge that just sort of happens. But it's sort of like some of the genres that really feed heavily into nu metal, at least from like my sort of observation and stuff like alternative metal, like groove metal, grunge, hip hop, rap. Those are like some of the most prominent, like the prominently noticeable genres. And sort of just like a rundown of what are some of the most like widely recognized hallmarks of the genre. You have, you know, how like a widely varying like vocal styles that range from like screaming to rapping. You have like down-tuned guitars with like a lot of palm muting. Mm-hmm. You have like hip hop drums, you know, like
very more groove based drums where like even less, even like grunge was more so just keeping, you know, steady like 4 beat. But yeah, it was definitely, you had the more like funky, groovy sounding drums that really started with like Korn and bands after that.
And also like heavy use of like electronic sounds and like electronic manipulation of the vocals and music. Mm-hmm. An interesting concept. I would like to lean on Jonathan if he can elaborate on this, like heavy syncopation. Could you have a definition for that?
It's just, I can't give you like an academic definition of it. It's sort of like this weird, like it's not offbeat, but it's like do you know how to describe it? It's very, the only way I can describe it is syncopated. Well, but it's like this very like, to use sort of like a more modern example would be that main synth line from Toto's Africa, where it's like the synth chords are going in between the beats of the drum, so it gives this like dun 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 type of thing.
I did have a technical definition in case we didn't have one. Mm-hmm. I guess the official definition of syncopation is described as a temporary displacement of the regular metrical accent in music caused typically by stressing the weak beat.
Basically, yeah.
Which is a very technical and
nerd,
very technical definition.
Yeah.
And plus with nu metal, there's a lot of variety of instruments, and for the most part, they have like pretty equal representation throughout the music, at least from what I've seen and what people have said.
Like, what do you mean by equal represent?
Like at least from what I've been reading, like people who have like guitars and like drums and bass and like turntables, they're sort of like more equally represented, I guess, in their use and sound throughout the music and albums. This is just from what I've been reading.
Yeah, I will say a lot of like nu metal bands, there really isn't so much a certain feature of a particular music, because like a lot of the rock of the 70s and 80s, where all the focus was mostly put on the vocals and the guitar, you know, bass and drums, you know, outside of, you know, very notable exceptions, were more just about keeping the beat.
Yeah. And
it wasn't until like, you know, a lot of these nu metal bands like System of a Down in particular, where their rhythm section was really technical. whereas maybe their higher end was not as much, where it was the opposite before.
And going back to what you said earlier, just sort of like in terms of like mainstream sort of like familiarity or like accessibility, the song structure in nu metal, you know, of course this isn't like a huge blanket, but like in a lot of ways it's very similar to like pop song in its structure than maybe sort of like other heavy metal songs.
Yeah, I mean, granted, even like a lot of metal doesn't deviate from like very like verse chorus sort of song structure, but yeah, especially like in the late '90s and early 2000s when nu metal became more mainstream, it really leaned in more of the mainstream song structures.
And probably one of the biggest hallmarks of the genre is sort of like in terms of like lyrical content, it's very in large part focused on personal and internal experiences with like a gravitation towards painful ones.
Yeah, or basically it was like angry white dude rock for a lot. Not always, but it was definitely that more that angry Kyle monster drinking, want to punch a hole in the wall type thing.
And lastly, like we talked about earlier with the instrumentation, like the use of turntables was very frequent in the genre, but not every nu metal band had turntables, and even though that's sort of like a very strong like indicator of the genre, it wasn't ubiquitous. It wasn't in every single group.
Yeah, like even in a lot of the bands that had some sort of like turntables or sampling, it was more so in sort of the studio production than like they had like a dedicated person for that. Like, I mean, the only bands that I can think of right offhand that had like specifically a guy on the turntables would be like Slipknot and Linkin Park.
Yeah, for sure.
Limp Bizkit, probably.
Yeah, Limp Bizkit.
And, I mean, I guess technically, you know, I guess in a way you're going to have to throw Kid Rock into that category, too.
Yeah, he's definitely adjacent to it, if not nu metal.
Yeah.
But, you know, he is fucking dog trash.
In his defense, fun fact, I've actually seen that guy twice in concert.
Really?
Yeah. I will say the motherfucker can put on a show. I will give him that much. Like, there was points during his show where he would play like every instrument on the stage at one point.
Oh, wow.
It was pretty fun. Back when I, you know, listen to a little bit of some Kid Rock. We've all listened to some shit that we're not proud of. I mean, let's be real.
I mean, definitely. I had like every Creed CD back in the day, so like I'm not going to sit here and get on my high horse and be like, "You listen to Kid Rock?"
You should have seen my grandmother asked me if I needed anything from Walmart, and I asked her to it was like, "Could I please have the new Kid Rock album?" And it was I forgot the name of it, but it was the one that had American Badass on it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it's like some of the I don't remember them all offhand, but I remember one of the songs being called Abortion or something like that. And then she actually got it for me. Granted, it was Walmart. It was an edited version of the CD, but she's looking at the titles of some of these songs, and she goes, "Oh my God, do you even need to be listening to this?" And I was like, "Oh." Granted, back then I was literally buying CDs just because like I heard one song that I liked.
Yeah, I mean, and basically, I mean, that's how a lot of people bought like albums back in the day.
You drop $14 for basically one song on there.
Yeah, and I mean, and sometimes you get lucky where every song was a fucking banger.
Oh yeah, I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of those, in my opinion, of course.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I just wanted to touch on a little bit more of the history. And from what I've been able to tell, it seems like a lot of the criticisms about nu metal as a genre kind of come from like a lot of it has like a very similar sounding music throughout, like all these different bands, like several bands, and they all kind of came at prominence at a certain time. Because I feel like if you look at the bands that were making music at the start, like in the early '90s. Versus to where I guess like the nascent of it was like in the early 2000s, there is a difference because I feel like bands like Korn and Disturbed and like Deftones, they have like their own voice within the genre.
Definitely, and it's a trajectory that's not solely unique to nu metal or any sort. I mean, it happens to a lot, especially subgenres of music, where you have like artists that start out and it sounds, each band has their own unique sound, but they kind of are lumped in this similar vein. Whereas once everybody starts copying them and then people start copying the copy, it ultimately gits watered down. And one thing that I think does a disservice to a lot of nu metal, and I think a lot of like, especially modern metal in general, is not only is like the down-tuned guitar and like heavy distortion, there's not a lot of very timbral variety with it. And then on top of that, a lot of bands are, especially now, are using like 8, 9, 10-string guitars. So they can get at that point, you're basically playing a fucking bass on top of your guitar. And, you get that zoom, 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 zoom. And I mean, I'm not like saying the music's like shit or awful, because I really love metal, and especially a lot of those more heavy down-tuned genres. But there is definitely a greater risk of sounding samey.
Yeah, like, and granted, I can get down with some gent as much as the next guy, but like you said, once you get so low, how can you even tell what note you're playing at that point? Like, even listening to it all kind of just sounds the same in a way.
Yeah, and it doesn't help with a lot of the good. And I know, like, as someone who listens to metal, I always hate when people say, "Oh, it all sounds same, I can't understand." But
no, even my criticism just now about that, I felt a little sick to my stomach.
Yeah, exactly. but like at the same time, and like you were saying with like gent in particular, it's like there are definitely some good bands in the genre.
Oh yeah.
But they are bands that definitely go out of the way, and they're not just playing like open string chugga chugga riffs.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's just so much you can. There are only so many ways you can do the.
Yeah, I think that was like another problem that came with nu metal, because once that genre got big, it kind of became like the hair metal scene all over again, because these bands started popping out like a dime a dozen.
Yeah, I mean, it was the mainstream in rock for the longest time.
Yeah,
because it was really about like the start of the 2000s, where nu metal kind of reached this sort of mainstream awareness, and because people realized that more and more people have like an open awareness of this genre, and it has like a surefire profitability. That's when you have like all these people, like you said, you have the copycats, and the copies are sort of like, they don't realize what they're copying; they're just doing it unthinkingly. They all sort of like lumping together, and then it's just that you really have like this big peak in sort of like output of this music and these bands, and unfortunately, it feels like it's like a blisteringly fast era of music, whereas it eventually had like a sort of a resurgence in like the early 2010s, but like it's I guess for as far as we're concerned, it's sort of relegated to this one part of history.
Yeah, for sure.
And just sort of talk about like some bands that are like well known in the genre. It's like some of the most like prominent. You have bands like Alien Ant Farm, Cold Chamber, Deftones, Disturbed, Drowning Pool, Evanescence, Godsmack, Incubus, Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, Mudvayne, Papa Roach, Saliva, Sepultura, Seven Dust, Slipknot, Stained, and Trapt. Those are like I feel like that's a pretty wide net for like the most well known of that genre.
Yeah, in varying levels of quality.
I've had several albums from a lot of those bands.
Oh, same here.
Like I'm still like I'm very behind on my Seven Dust. Since I have Spotify Premium now, I can just I have all the power, and I've been listening to their latest album. Came out in 2018, and fuck, man, they still got it. I love me some Seven Dust, man.
Yeah, I can't remember. There was a song in high school, and it was one of their like newer releases at the time. So this was like 2008, 2009, and I just remember like really fucking digging it. I really like their vocalist. I can't remember his name.
LaJohn Witherspoon.
Yeah, he's really good.
He's one of my favies. Like he was one of my inspirations for being a vocalist. Mm-hmm. Like I really loved his vocal style. Like he's like, you can be in a metal band and actually sing. I mean, I'm not hating on screaming or anything. Like people like to shit on that, saying, "Oh, anybody can do that." Fuck no, I can't. I wish I could, but I can't.
Yeah,
because it takes really just on the subject of screaming, it takes a real skill to exert that much raw guttural vocal energy and not severely damage your throat.
Yeah,
right.
You have to really train at it, and that's the thing. People, I think, don't realize that they think it's easy. You just go no, but yeah. I mean, not everybody can just automatically do that.
And it's like David Draymond, the lead singer of Disturbed. He actually had to tone down his vocals because the way he was singing was bringing up stomach acid and burning his esophagus. Like he had to have surgery because of that shit.
Yeah, and a lot of bands, not even necessarily new metal, it's sort of that metal movement after new metal. A lot of the vocalists really had to either have surgery or really go through extensive vocal training so they didn't severely damage their voice.
Or at least modify how they sang.
Yeah.
And plus any future performances of certain songs. I know Chester Bennington, he's really well known for his his power and his screaming in his vocals, and especially one of our later songs Bleed It Out, he couldn't really perform to that same level you hear on the album in future concerts. They had an audio assist for him because just of course he being older, he's not able to have that same level of power and just sustained screaming.
Yeah, and definitely, and especially his screaming style is more yelly.
Yeah.
It's easier to train that more Cookie Monster type vocal without damaging your voice, whereas that more vocal fry type of, you could really fuck your shit up doing that.
So it takes what we're saying, it takes a great degree of skill in order to pull this off right and not permanently damage yourself.
Also, yeah. Chester, rest in peace.
Big ups to Chester, R.I.P. And I also want, since we're on the subject of these sort of specific bands, I do think it's interesting how you have a lot of these big bands that sort of were influential at the start and sort of where they went in the trajectory of this genre. You have bands like Disturbed, Korn, and Slipknot, where it's they're really there at the forefront. And some people argue that they sort of stayed in a similar sound, but of course they sort of grew with it. But I've seen people argue that they have a very similar sound to where they were at the start of this genre and to where they are currently in their music.
Yeah, I know Disturbed in particular, they really, while I'm not a huge fan of their newest stuff, I mean I really do commend them, especially now it seems like they're in a more industrial kick. I haven't really listened to them.
I haven't really had a lot of time with their latest release, Evolution. I've heard a few songs. I will give it to Disturbed. I'm going to go ahead and say Disturbed was probably the influence on me, the reason why I wanted to play music. Because once I discovered them, it was gung-ho at that point. That's around when I started learning how to play guitar. I never considered myself a singer or anything, but I sang. People liked how I sounded, so I was okay, maybe I should try this. But Disturbed has been my biggest influence. If I have to say I have a favorite band of all time, it's definitely Disturbed. They are up there. I have one of their logos tattooed on my arm, tattooed poorly, but I need to get this one covered up and put it somewhere else because I really do like the symbol.
If only we knew someone who's really good at tattoos.
Oh man, gee willikers. But yeah, Disturbed, like I said, I'll give it to them. They have remained relevant for over 20 years now. They're still out there. They're still touring. I mean, I guess you could consider them classic rock at this point. Like, what's the cutoff? Like 20, 25 years? I don't know.
I don't know.
It just shows how fucking old I am. I've been with these guys since their debut album. It's insane.
Which was what, 99?
It was like 99, 2000, yeah.
God.
And once I heard Down with the Sickness, it was fucking over with, man. I was in it to win it, man.
Yeah, for me, it was 10,000 Fist.
Another good one.
And and then I went back to Believe and Down with the Sickness. And I know, like, I know right now, like, it's more of a meme to kind of shit on them. And there are definitely some goofier parts of their songs, but I don't know. And I guess this is just nostalgia, but there's still some of that stuff I just really fucking dig.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, hell, they they've, I guess I don't remember like exact. I think they're like one of like 5 or 6 bands to have like, I think it was either, again, 5 or 6 like consecutive #1 albums. Like,
yeah,
every time they dropped a fucking CD, that shit jumped up the charts. And much like Jonathan, I'm not a huge fan of their later stuff. They have a few good ones here or there. Like their latest single that's been popping off is like "Hold On to Memories." It is a ballad. It's all it is. It's just a ballad. It's a very sad song too. Like, I saw the video and they're like showing like pictures of their friends and like family that have died. And I was like, oh God, oh Jesus,
y'all need to stop that.
Yeah, Disturbed.
And I mean, and Dan Donegan, and that. I know, like, at the start of this podcast, I said that a lot of these guys didn't necessarily have the chops of, say, like a lot of previous generations.
Danny Boy.
But, God, I remember the first song I heard by them was Stricken. And
yes.
That guitar solo fucking slaps.
Because, like, their first 2 albums, he really didn't solo. And then when I picked up 10,000 Fists, and I was like, wait, is Dan fucking hitting solos right now? Like,
yeah, and then, like, with Indestructible, it was even more.
Oh, yeah.
I remember seeing that video of the Inside the Fire, and he's doing that fucking flipping his hand back. And I'm like,
I was like, I'm not even that fucking fast. Chill out, man.
Yeah, and ultimately, it's not that hard to do, but it looks so fucking cool.
Yeah. Oh, man.
In sort of a similar track, going up from like bands that sort of like started it and kept a similar navigation with their sound. We have bands that were big at the forefront, but ultimately helped form the genre and eventually left. You have bands like Deftones, Linkin Park, and Papa Roach. They had like a very early sound that's very indicative of the genre, but eventually they graduated to do on to other things. Like Linkin Park, like Hybrid Theory is one of the best-selling debut albums of all time. Like, it's like Diamond. As of 2017, it sold like 10.5 million copies in America alone, which is absurd. And in the Linkin Park, especially the first 2 albums, are very much nu metal, all the way to
classic
the core.
nu metal.
And then from like their third on, they just really explored really different things.
Yeah, they really took like a lot of bands. It's a very gradual shift, but it was a hard. That Minutes to Midnight was a hard left turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's when I fell off the Linkin Park train. Once you got, they got that rap rock out of there, I was like, oh man, what the hell? I guess I'm just a Linkin Park purist. Those first 2 albums were great.
Oh yeah,
Collision Course with Jay-Z.
I will say that shit was really fucking tight.
It was only 6 songs, but it was fucking awesome.
But like, and the thing is one of the things I'm not a huge fan of this genre for is especially when they try to co-opt rapping and hip hop, because it comes off very corny a lot of the time. But they were able to do it surprisingly well, unlike, say, fucking Fred Durst and Limp Bizkit.
I definitely will say, I feel like some of the rapping on Linkin Park stuff is definitely aged a little better, or just in terms of sounds a little better. And I'll get into it personally when we get into more like our sort of individual, more personal like favorites, because they're really my main exposure to the genre, aside from a few ones here and there, but they're definitely my sort of anchor to it. And unfortunately, not everyone can have a sterling success in a genre, especially one that has such a fairly short shelf life. Because you have bands like Crazy Town and Evanescence and Limp Bizkit that had like a really big heyday, but they just never really were able to recapture that success in the zenith.
To say Crazy Town had a heyday is very generous. Because they literally just had that one song that wasn't even new metal.
Yeah,
but also like that's sort of what you get when one of your singers is named Shifty Shell Shock.
God, all you have to do is watch that movie, Orange County. And have y'all seen that movie with Jack Black and Colin Hanks?
I've not seen it,
sounds familiar.
But I know what movie you're talking about.
All like the fucking white girls in that movie. Like every time Butterfly came on, they're like, "Oh my god, it's my song!" And it reminds you because it plays like 3 goddamn times in the movie. But like every list that I've looked up doing research for this podcast, like we talked about off the show, how I'm looking at this list and some of these bands I don't really consider new metal, but I guess I'm not the authority. I just listen to the shit.
Well, of the sort of bands that you think were mentioned as part of the genre, but you don't feel quite sort of hit all the markers, who would those be?
Well, I know we'll talk about some of these later, but I don't really consider, like, I love Seven Dust. I never really consider, like, their early albums, maybe. So, you know what? Never mind. Seven Dust will get a pass, but bands like Puddle of Mud, I would consider them more like, hard rock.
Yeah, and that's the thing with like new metal was it was like as much as people now kind of like belie this genre, it really had a very strong influence even on rock in the 2000s because there a lot of like the guitar riffing was very similar.
Yeah.
Where you'd have like down-tuned guitars, maybe not as down-tuned as say like a Slipknot or something.
Because let's say, according to this list I'm looking at now, they got Metallica on there, and I'm like,
there has never been a single album of Metallica that was new metal. Like, I mean, unless you want to count Saint Anger, but that was just bad.
Yeah, Saint Anger was fucking trash. Fight me, anyone who says otherwise.
I mean, Slayer had a fucking new metal album.
Really?
Yeah, in the 90s. It's awful.
Oh,
but
I was about to say. But like bands like, let's see. I guess Stained would kind of be in the same boat as Seven Dust because I think their first couple of releases were kind of in that new metal territory.
God, I fucking hate Stained.
Some of these bands I haven't even like heard songs from. I don't think like Spine Shank, Sepultura.
Yeah, so they're Brazilian.
Sepultura. I'm sorry, I fucked
Portuguese
up that name.
for grave.
1 Minute Silence.
Now I will say the Chaos AD album for Sepultura fucking slaps.
Like, oh man, fucking Power Man 5000. How could I forget you, beautiful bastards? But
oh man, that's a throwback.
It definitely is. But I don't know, like Trapt. The only thing like new metal about Trapt was that they used 7-string guitars, which I don't understand why they did.
Because I mean, all their songs are basically just like fucking 4 chords.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they don't have any chops whatsoever.
Oh, don't worry. We'll get to these fuckers later. One of the members in particular.
And I think just from what my research was, is just sort of like how new metal kind of seemed like an open door in a lot of ways. Like how you have a lot of bands that sort of came through with either just like 1 or 2 songs that had like prominence during that time, or even just like maybe an album or 2. I kind of feel like there is sort of like a more, I guess, loose property to the genre as a whole, just because like how many people just sort of like came and went and sort of like had like a little vacation spot. And
and it pulls a lot from so many different genres that it is kind of just vague by its nature.
Yeah, just look up any lineup from Ozfest between like 99 to like 02 and you.
Yeah.
I always wanted to go to an Ozfest. I thought that would have been rad.
And apparently Ozzy Osbourne was very accepting of new metal as well as a genre and an art form. So,
I don't remember. I don't know if this is 100% true, but I think his son back in the day like helped him pick some of the bands that were on that show on that card.
Didn't know that. Well, it's not. Well, just as an offside, it's not like Gene Simmons' sons who plagiarized Bleach, the manga, and trying to make his own comic book.
Wow, that was Gene Simmons' son. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, that was a whole thing. Because the creator of Bleach was like, "Who is Gene Simmons' son? And why is he copying my manga?" Because like, this is a tangent, of course, but some people pulled up like pages from Gene Simmons and Son comic and put them right next to pages from the manga Bleach, and they're exactly the same. As he just like traced over, and they're like,
damn,
clone copies. It's hysterical.
It's like, this stuff's from across the pond. Nobody knows what that is around here.
It's like, oh, you'd be surprised.
I wonder if they put their
the
blood in
weebs
it.
will find out.
I wonder if they put their blood in the ink like Kiss did for that one comic book.
Oh yeah. Oof.
Yeah, that was a thing that happened.
Like, can we just say like Kiss sucks? Like,
I mean,
I've never.
I mean, Gene Simmons as a person sucks.
Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean that's objectively true statement.
but even my new metal heart can get behind songs like, Love Gun and copyright.
Look, Jonathan, it's the law of averages. You know, sooner or later, even a crappy band can make a good song.
I mean, touche.
That's why I love the fucking movie Detroit Rock City. Did you ever see that movie?
No.
Is it about, I mean, again, sorry, going off course here, about these huge Kiss fans who get tickets to the show, and then, like, one of the moms of this group of friends is, like, a really hardcore Christian, and, like, sets the tickets on fire and lights a cigarette with them. So the whole movie is about them, trying to get to this Kiss concert, and one of the lines in the movie, like, they're dog shitting on disco the whole time.
Oh, because of course they would
Yeah,
be.
and he's like, "Yeah, man, disco blows dogs for quarters, man." And then like they pick up this like disco queen who's hitchhiking to go to this show, and they go, "Man, well, I wouldn't be surprised if one day Kiss came out with a disco album." And I thought that was just a joke for the movie, but apparently they did make a disco album.
Yeah, in the late 70s, they jumped on that disco train.
Disco, talk about a genre that deserved to die. Fucking disco, except for the Bee Gees. The Bee Gees get a pass from me.
God, that is a very, like, you'd be surprised how fucking insane that whole trend of music was, and how like complicated that gets when you get into like a lot of the history behind it.
But disco gave us the best X-Men ever, Dazzler.
Somewhere Justin is fucking pissed. I bet he heard us.
Does he hate Dazzler?
Mean, there was a bolt of lightning just now that might have been just a flash of his anger.
Oh
manifest.
my god! Listen to the Replacements episode. You remember the Replacements episode? You were there for. Well,
I believe. I was in the background.
But yeah, that was a whole spiel about Dazzler. It was fucking hilarious. I actually still listen to that episode every now and then because it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And now that we've sort of gone through like sort of an overview of the genre and sort of like a little bit of the history, we're going to kind of get into like our personal experiences with the music, talking about like our favorite bands and our favorite songs. So, Jonathan, what are some of your standouts personally from nu metal?
Like I said, we talked about Disturbed already, but I think the bands I gravitated more towards, like especially when I first started getting into not just like nu metal, but heavy music in general, was Slipknot and System of a Down. You know, like I remember listening, like I think I listened to Volume 3, thought it was like the best thing I ever heard, and then like immediately picked up Iowa and thought that was like the heaviest shit ever. And I mean, there are very few albums, in my opinion, that can top how heavy that album gets. But there was always something about System of a Down. It was just their like quirkiness. That it was this very like middle school type humor that really got me as like a middle schooler. It's like, aha, this song's about fucking. But then they're definitely a band like I really when I went back recently to listen to them that have aged really freaking well. Like yeah, there's a lot of like really quirky, like, you know, Surge has his like oh la 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 type vocals and shit, but like a lot of their music is very thoughtful, surprisingly political, which I always kind of knew, because I mean you had songs like Prison Song, which was about the prison industrial complex, and, you know, Deer Dance, and a lot of like Toxicity is very political. And then of course like BYOB is very much a anti-Bush song. But like, and they're one of those few bands where every fucking album is just a goddamn banger. Like even their weaker albums, I'm like, I still fucking jam to them. And I think what made them really stand out among the pack was because they were like Turkish and Armenian, and they came from a lot of like Middle Eastern places. They really brought in that sound to the music, and it gave them their own unique identity. And then another band, I think, I didn't really listen to a lot when I was growing up, but like I kind of come around on was Deftones. But like a lot of the main, like the thing with Deftones is a lot of the reasons I like Deftones is they're not new metal stuff. When they like incorporate more shoegazy stuff is like the later Deftones of the stuff I'm more of a fan of.
Well, I don't mean to keep bringing them up, but again, the whole Disturbed thing, it all kind of hit me at once, I believe. Like I knew Disturbed at this point, but when Stone Cold Steve Austin came back after having neck surgery, he came back to I guess a kind of a remixed version of his theme song that Disturbed performed. And that just made me just an even bigger fan of them. There's a song called Glass Shatters. Apparently they wanted to record like a whole ass song with like different verses and whatnot, but I think Jim Johnson, the WWE's like main theme writer, he just like, no, just give it a verse and a chorus, we'll repeat the verse and blah blah blah. Disturbed has always been my favorite. Others that I would like listen to frequently, like Jonathan said, Slipknot. I was a real big Linkin Park fan back in the day. Static X. Loved me some Static X. It was like it was simple, but it was hard. It was angry, and I'm very fucking upset that Wayne Static died.
and just his fucking hair.
That hair, man. They recently did a reunion tour. And with somebody on stage that had a mask, had his hair, had the Wayne Static hair. People eventually deciphered that it was the lead singer of Dope that was picking up the reins.
I really love how they really incorporated more industrial sounds into their music.
That was really cool, too. I really liked that. The only one that counts, that first Drowning Pool album, Sinner. Like R.I.P. Dave Williams. It was this was like besides when I found out that Notorious B.I.G. died. When I found out that Dave Williams died, and I remember that was like one of the big ones that got me. I was like, "What the fuck, really? Dave's dead?" They just up and died on his tour bus. No drug related, no nothing.
It was just natural causes.
Yeah, like his just fucking heart just stopped on him, I guess.
Damn.
They like found him on the bus the next day, and then they got a very shitty singer for their second album, and then they eventually picked up the former lead singer of Soil. I know because I saw them live in Louisiana, which was fucking rad. Granted, he's no Dave Williams, but I always enjoyed Soil too, and it worked out. Like I'm looking through this list, a lot of these bands that I listened to, I only had like a few songs, and I bailed. Seven Dust. Big Seven Dust fan. Fucking mushroom head. It's a penis joke.
God, if you
and they were, it's like Slipknot copied us.
or but when I read, like, it feels more like the fans kind of like like imagine the feud between the two because like Mushroom Head, they're similar to Slipknot in the way they have like these sort of like grotesque monster like characters that they inhabit for their live performances, but like there wasn't really any bad blood between the two bands themselves. Just sort of when you see like one like gross monster group coming after another gross monster group, the people just automatically just like, oh, they copied that.
Yeah, Corey Taylor like confirmed that in an interview. He was just like, look, man, we have no beef. It was the fucking fans that started that shit. Yeah. And he even like talked about, hey man, let's get Mushroom Head, Mudvayne, and Slipknot on a tour together. My ass would fucking be front row for that shit. Are you kidding me? I want Mudvayne back in general if they can still fucking do it.
Yeah.
Like Mudvayne was another big one that I know I'm listing off a bunch of them, but like I said, I fucking love nu metal. It never died in my heart. I was a little late to the party. I didn't discover a little band called Nonpoint till about 2006, but they're really good. I saw them live. They opened up with Disturbed. They did a cover of In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. Probably a little lesser known bands like Flaw.
I've never heard of them.
I did have a couple of Saliva CDs. Yeah, I did. Powerman 5000. It's like a lot of these bands, like Powerman 5000, their song Bombshell was the Dudley Boys theme song for a long time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They have like the pyro going like, get up, drop the bombshell. But, yeah, there's a lot of nu metal incorporated into wrestling. Especially when WWE started bringing in theme songs for their pay-per-views, because they were just spitting them out left and right. Like, hey, let's have the rights for this song. Pay some money. It's like Fred Durst, like one of the apparently one of the the clauses in the contract for them using Roland for The Undertaker was adding Fred Durst into some of their video games. And I think Fred Durst has been in 3 wrestling games as an unlockable character.
Yeah, I want to say I remember hearing that. And then there's also that infamous clip of like they cut to Fred Durst at like a WrestleMania or something. He just starts like flipping
it was a SummerSlam.
Yeah, that's it.
Like flipped off the camera, and I think didn't they kick him out after
yeah,
that?
they never saw him again.
This was like smack in the middle of the PG era, so they're like, oh no, we don't do that anymore.
And to your point, 'cause I was going to bring up if you ever had the WWE Tough Enough album that came out in 2001.
Fucking had that one.
Because like, just as an idea of what they had on there, they had folks like Drowning Pool, Alien Ant Farm, Godsmack, Power Man 5000, Papa Roach, Deftones, Big Mother Thruster, Mudvayne, Disturbed, Half Cock, to name a few more. So like that came out 2001. So that's very much of the indicative of the time.
Oh, yeah. I had that fucking CD. Remember, because they had a live version of Stupefy by Disturbed, and at the beginning...
That's a banger.
Yeah, Stupefy, man. And it was like the beginning, they had the audio from Silence of the Lambs. How do you know what pain is? I think that was the first time I ever heard Dig, too. Was off the Tough Enough CD.
Yeah. Just take a shot at how many times the bass goes ding.
Oh.
You would die.
Oh.
If you want to, like, melt your mind, just look up the song Dig by Mudvayne, but every time the bass dings, it either speeds up or slows down.
Yeah, I've sat
the slow down one is horrifying.
Yes.
Because I remember that very distinctly. Cannon showed that to us one day a while back, and I just felt like the synapses in my brain just, like, deteriorating. Because not only is it just, like, a hellscape to watch this music video just like distort into like an indescribable mess, but just like the grotesquerie of the people actually playing. Because like one of these fuckers has like a chin goatee that's just a skinny little strand that's like a foot long and it's like dyed red.
Yeah.
Oh man, those are some characters. Wow, we haven't named Manson this whole time. I forgot about old Marilyn Manson.
Is he really nu metal?
From what I've read, he's definitely like folded into it. Maybe not just like as like a hard like fixture in the genre, but it definitely has like so as someone who kind of like came through it.
Yeah, like I don't know. I wasn't that like. I admired Marilyn Manson as a person more than his music.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Well, one, like, as a kid, like, he was always in the fucking news for, like, causing, like, school shootings or some shit.
Or like people who cause school shooting listen to his music, and therefore people like attach like these negative connotations to him.
Yeah. So like my mom was like, "You don't listen to Marilyn Manson. He's not Jesus."
You know, it's funny how you don't hear about anything like that. Hardly any these days. Like back in the 80s, they're like, "Hey, play this record backwards. You can hear the devil speaking." And then the same thing with Manson in the 90s. Mm-hmm. Shit like that's kind of died down.
Yeah, you don't really hear much about a satanic panic anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely I'm sure like if you go into some like evangelical hardcore fundamentalist Christian, they'll probably pull out something like that. But yeah, you definitely don't see that anymore. I know, like, you know, the thing with the Joker movie here recently, there was a big to-do, like, oh, it's going to cause people to commit mass murder, and it never really happened.
It's almost like the media wanted it to happen.
I mean...
Yeah, I'm going to be that guy. Look what happened. More shit happened during the premiere of Frozen 2 than the Joker.
That is true.
Like, wasn't there like a fucking fight that happened somewhere in the world during a Frozen premiere?
I'm not going to say it didn't happen.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that like two moms just got angry at each other and just started like fighting over something.
Probably because one kid wouldn't shut the fuck up, if we're being honest. But that's a tangent.
Or like the kids were just like running around, like that one kid at Onward when we saw.
Oh my God, I never wanted to punt a kid more than my life. Or punt the parents. It's like, take control of your crotch goblin.
And so, like I said, sort of like my experience with this genre is more so centered around Linkin Park, because like just my musical taste didn't really air towards new metal. Of course, I sort of have since gone back and sort of like, you know, set my toes in the water of the genre. But like with them, I first got turned on to them way back in like, what was it, 2004, 2003, basically when I saw the Breaking the Habit music video.
Oh yeah,
where it's like it's very anime inspired, like it's made by an anime studio, and I was like, what the fuck is this? I have to find out more about this. So like I went back and listened to Hybrid Theory and Meteora, because those are like they're two big anchors in the genre, and I have such a big hard connection with Meteora because with Hybrid Theory there's definitely like a lot of I feel like unpolished sound, at least from my sort of interpretation. It feels like kind of rough and unpolished, and that's sort of like maybe a charm of the genre.
Yeah, the production on that one is definitely rougher.
But with Meteora, it definitely feels like a more polished, more cohesive like sound, and like at least like an aesthetic.
Wait, do you mean Hybrid Theory was the one that didn't sound polished?
Hybrid Theory, the one that sounds more rough.
Yeah, that was the first one.
Yeah. Of course, it look at this at first, but I have like I have big affinity, big affection, big nostalgia for those two albums, because like anytime I listen to it, I'm just thrown way back to middle school, and just like I feel like
oh yeah, definitely,
because I just remember like laying back in my room middle of the night, just like listening to it and just like letting my brain wander.
Because I could listen to both of those, their first two albums front to back. I don't think there was a bad song on either of them, in my opinion.
I actually listened to them back today, and I still enjoy. There's definitely like, and you know, as an older person and like who's listened to more stuff, there's some stuff that kind of makes me like smirk,
or cringe a little.
Maybe not cringe, but just sort of like it's sort of like it's just indicative of who they were at that time and what the music was at that time. Because there's definitely a lot of like overwrought, you know, emotion.
Their music is very melodramatic. But that being said, I think, and it's not just Linkin Park, but like a lot of the big bands like Korn and Slipknot and System of a Down and Disturbed, a lot of the reason I think their music really has aged better than, you know, say like fucking Alien Ant Farm, like there was a definite sincerity behind the music too. Mm-hmm. Like there, I know, like it's kind of a meme. It was a meme for a while to make fun of Linkin Park for being like very melodramatic and emo and stuff like that. But it definitely didn't feel like it was just some person, some like white kid in the middle of suburbia who doesn't have any problems complaining like he has problems.
Yes, it's not like a facsimile or like a Wilford production of like a more melancholic or distressed song, because especially when you look more into like Chester's life, he definitely has a lot of really heavy baggage. Like there's one song in Meteor that's like almost certainly based off like his past sexual trauma. Yeah, like there's like some very real emotions and sincerity goes with that, and I guess it kind of like all those things sort of feed back into what eventually happened to him when he took his own life. And did you really get a sense of that in their last album that came out, 2016, 2017?
Yeah.
There's definitely like a lot of things that kind of feed into like what his frame of mind was, and sort of like how whatever he carried with him as a young man, it lasted all the way to the end of his life. And I will say, while the first two albums are they're definitely the most like signature sound, I really did enjoy their growth later in life when they try different things and they sort of like just to see where they can go. And just like to a greater extent, I enjoyed it. There's definitely like some stuff I didn't really enjoy, how they just kind of like splice like weird random sounds and different songs, or like cuts from like whole speeches. It feels out of place when you have like a whole snippet of like some political rally interspliced with a song. It's just kind of weird and kind of jarring.
I could see how that would be like a definite tangent. Like, I think a band who really does that well, who's not a new metal band, would be Living Colour.
Okay, yeah, yeah, definitely.
Because like their big hit, Cult of Personality, has a lot of like MLK and FDR.
A big wrestling theme, because that was CM Punk's theme.
Yep.
for not the entirety of run, but that's definitely his most remembered theme song. Mm-hmm. Because oh shit, what was his first theme?
This Fire Burns by Killswitch Engage.
That's right.
Oh fuck, that's a banger.
Fun fact, did you know who had that song first for a very short time?
No, who was it?
Randy Orton.
You know, I can see it. I can really see it.
They gave that song to Randy Orton for like a couple of weeks or so, and I guess they thought it didn't work out. Yeah, but yeah, that Cult of Personality, I'll never forget, like, when John Cena's just standing in the ring by himself, and then fucking with his WWE Championship belt, and then Cult of Personality plays. Nobody knows what the fuck's going on because it's the first time they're hearing this song at a wrestling show, and they're like, oh, what? And fucking CM Punk comes out with the belt that he left with, the exact same one, and I was like, oh my God.
God, that's one of the best riffs of all time.
The PG era did have its moments. It did have its moments.
Because I will say, like, you know, wrestling tangent, I remember I had his DVD, and that match between him and John Cena is just like, that is an amazing match. That's one of the top contenders of that era in WWE. Even though I've definitely sort of like CM Punk has sort of fallen from grace in sort of real life and in my personal standing, that's still a superlative run and a great match.
Yes.
So, and going back a bit, what we said earlier about like sort of how, you know, weebs and new metal, because there definitely is a crossover in that too. Because we talked about wrestling and new metal, there's anime and new metal. Because, like, way back in the day, I remember, like, Dragon Ball Z, like, two movies specifically, Lord Slug and Cooler's Revenge, they had, like, whole albums that released with the movie that was predominantly new metal and hard rock. Because you had folks like Finger 11, Dust for Life, American Pearl, Deftones, Disturbed, and Drowning Pool. They're all, like, heavily featured in those two albums. And when would you ever think to, like, attach that to an anime? Because if you go back and watch Cooler's Revenge, there's a moment in there they start playing like Disturbed or Drowning Pool, one or the other, in the middle of a climactic moment, and you would think it was from like an AMV, but no, that was a real choice that they made in the English release of it, and God bless them for it. That's a power move.
That is a power move. And it's so, like, I don't know, tonally weird with Dragon Ball Z, because at least with that, what I associated was that more power metal, just that epic, like, very high-end guitar sound. But, yeah. And I know, like, with me personally, like, how I discovered a lot of music was AMVs, and there was a lot of predominantly new metal or just a lot of like metal at the time attached to those.
Because that's what I was reading when like I kind of found like this thread on Twitter about like the old music that was used in the English dub of Dragon Ball Z. How like a lot of people got their start listening to like Disturbed and Drowning Pool, and so like, that's how they discovered this band. And how new metal in a lot of ways is sort of the entry point for a lot of people in terms of like musical like not experimentation, like exploration. Like this is where they start. They find these bands, and it's sort of that eventually it leads down the road to like different things in metal, and or just like later on just like a cultivation of musical taste.
Yeah, definitely. Even though like we've said before, there's a lot of bad in new metal. There was still a lot of good, and there's a lot of because a lot of people now just remember like the more tail end of it, where it was very formulaic and generic. But in the late 90s, to have bands with like fucking turntables, like guitar driven bands with turntables, like what the fuck is this? I mean, did every experiment work out? No, but I at least commend the effort.
And Cannon, something you brought up earlier is that not only do we have like anime with like new metal soundtrack, but also just motion picture soundtrack was like a heavy new metal slant.
Yes.
Yeah. In the early 2000s, definitely had films with new metal driven soundtracks. One particular, even though I think on the actual movie soundtrack on the disc, none of the songs are on there. But during the movie The One with Jet Li,
oh fuck,
I remember hearing fucking Disturbed, Papa Roach, Drowning Pool all over that motherfucker. Because there's this one scene where like Jet Li's the character he played, his girlfriend's there to like break him out. And then she just like flips off the camera, and as soon as her middle finger comes up, you can hear, "Oh wow!" Not my best work. Sorry, not my best work. And then like the whole place explodes. I actually owned a lot of these albums. Like I had. That's funny. You have it pulled up. I had the Punisher, the Thomas Jane 2004 Punisher soundtrack. I actually also own the Scorpion King soundtrack, which is funny when you think about it. You're watching. I haven't seen the Scorpion King in a long fucking time, but I think like if you like played like the songs on the soundtrack in the actual movie, I guess with the exception of "I Stand Alone," because like that was probably the main reason I bought that CD was Godsmack's "I Stand Alone."
I haven't heard that song in years, but it still plays so clearly in my head.
Same here.
And also Queen of the Damned, which we were talking about earlier. That movie in itself looks like an hour and a half long new metal music video.
I was about to say, because like if I had to think of a motion picture soundtrack that I most associate with new metal, it has to be Queen of the Damned.
But for me, it was always like the Underworld's Resident Evil.
But I have a star next to this, which means I'm supposed to look it up. So I'm going to read off the songs from this soundtrack. Now, granted, I have not seen the movie, but there's a little movie called Dracula 2000.
Oh, fuck.
Now, listen to this fucking soundtrack, buddy. You got Power Man 5000. You have Disturbed. A Welcome Burden, which was an unreleased track at the time. So I guess they let him have that song. It came back in like I think it was the 10th or 15th anniversary edition of The Sickness. They put those on. They're great songs. They should have been on the album when it first came out. You got Slayer, System of a Down, Monster Magnet, Godhead, Linkin Park, Pantera, Static X, Head PE, Taproot, Endo, Flybanger, Half Cocked, and Saliva. Some of those bands I never even heard of, but that is like the quintessential new metal fucking lineup right there.
Like just... Yeah, like even the bands I did not know out of that lineup, I'm like, goddamn, if there was ever a new metal sounding name to a band, it would be fucking, what was it? Headbanger or
Flybanger, Half-Cocked.
There was a band called Snot.
Yeah,
yeah.
I never heard Snot. The only reason I know about them is because the song Angel Sun, Seven Dust. I think they, if I remember correctly, it was put on their album Animosity back in like 2001, but I think it was like actually co-wrote. It was a co-writing venture between them and some people from Snot, and that song is for the lead singer of Snot who died. And like I said, I don't remember the complete ins and outs. I think Seven Dust has pretty much adopted that song because that's like one of the ones they play all the time. And I have here also the Scream 3 soundtrack. Because in my opinion, it has Creed's best song on there, even though they're not a new metal band. I love the song "What If" by Creed. I will not apologize for that.
I mean,
my old band played that song, and I had a blast singing it the whole time.
it's one of their few good songs.
Just on his track to some of the other albums that I found, we have the Matrix Reloaded soundtrack.
Oh yes.
Because let's just take a gander at that one. See, Matrix Reloaded, they had
Sleeping Awake by POD. I remember that song.
They had Linkin Park, Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie, Deftones, Team Sleep, POD, Un Loco, Rage Against the Machine, Oakenfold, Flute.
What?
Dave
Un
Matthews
Loco.
Band.
I forgot about Un Loco.
What Rage song did they have?
Pardon me?
What Rage Against the Machine song did they have?
They had Calm Like a Bomb.
Oh, that is a banger.
I was about to say, because I know the first one, like the iconic scene at the end of the first Matrix movie where like the beginning riff of Wake Up's like doom, 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 and then Neo just flies. Meow, meow, meow. Come on!
Yeah.
Oh my God, I fucking love. There's a YouTuber named CinemaSins who put that little ending bit of the song at the endings of other movies and made it work. Mwah. Beautiful.
Okay, big question. Does The Matrix 4 have a new metal soundtrack when it comes
It's
out?
fucking better.
The Wachowskis were really into like new metal and like all the cyberpunk techno at the time, so
We need new metal and just like fetish leather.
and just those like weird masks and this type of dancing.
Yeah, God, that weird party scene in the middle of the second one. So when they're all like back to back, guns out, just walking. They're all at the weird fetishist dancing. God, that's a good bit.
God, it reminds me of those kids in Letterkenny.
Oh yeah.
The meth head goth kids.
The Freddy vs. Jason.
Oh, fuck!
How can I forget that?
God, they had this bitch has 20 fucking songs. They got El Nino, Kill Switch Engage, Spine Shank, Mushroom Head, Hatebreed, Slipknot, Chimera, From Autumn to Ashes, Seven Dust, Power Man, Murder Dolls, Seether, Stone Sour, Devil Driver, which what was previously Cold Chamber, Sepultura, The Blank Theory, Nothing Face, In Flames, Lamb of God, and Type O Negative.
That's a soundtrack right there.
Oh, fuck.
And I remember loving How Can I Live by El Nino because I remember the video for that now. Hell yeah.
And that's 77 minutes and 59 seconds of pure new metal goodness.
What was the Lamb of God song on that?
The Lamb of God was 11th Hour.
What was the Kill Switch song?
The Kill Switch Engage song, let's see, that was When Darkness Falls.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
But I think a personal favorite from mine, I don't know how I ran into this one, but somehow I did back in the day. It was the Daredevil soundtrack.
Yep.
Oh, fuck. That had like the entire Evanescence debut album on it.
Yeah, because like the Daredevil 2003 movie was actually responsible for Evanescence's like mainstream like debut essentially because it has My Immortal and Bring Me to Life in the movie.
Oh my God. And it was like the most like
that bar scene when they're playing Nickelback. The old man go.
Because like Nickelback, they have Lean the Hard Way, which is not one of their bigger songs. But they have like Fuel, The Calling, Saliva, Seether, Drowning Pool, Nappy Roots, Moby, Evanescence, of course, Chevelle.
Fucking Moby. I'm sorry.
Revis,
Moby?
Boy Sets Fire, Autopilot Off. Some of these fuckers you can't even find anymore. 12 Stones, Endo.
You're just saying words at this point.
Essentially.
Is that Fuels Won't Back Down?
Won't Back Down. That's the lead song off.
That's a good fucking song. I think that one holds up in my opinion.
I don't remember it.
I had an affection for the Callings For You. It's goofy, but like I can still fuck with it. And what's so funny about the Daredevil movie, as flawed as it is, it's responsible for me to exploring Daredevil and him becoming like one of my favorite comic book characters ever, because I'll tell you, even the director's cut, which helps the movie, it's still silly, but it's got just a warm spot in my heart, because that was a jumping off point for a lot of things for me.
I will say the director's cut definitely improves the film.
No, for sure. It's definitely
that's what I've
better
heard.
movie.
There's like a whole story arc that they cut out of that motherfucker, and it actually makes what we've already seen make a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's still a lot of goofy stuff with Bullseye and Colin Farrell, just it's this weird gross brogue, and his oh, me hands, you took me hands.
Show mercy.
It's good shit.
I'll be right back, guys.
And we're back. We had sort of an overview of the bands that we personally have an affinity for, the ones that we feel like in a genre that's very contentious, has a lot of genuine merits. But I think it's time we get down to the brass tacks and actually discuss the bands that we think really just weigh everything down and what give the genre a bad name. So who do y'all think is an actually bad nu metal band?
Oh, I have a handful.
All right, let's hear them.
Oh, fuck. Well, I to pick the low-hanging fruit, Limp Bizkit. Fred Durst is just a disgusting person, and I think the thing that there are many things that piss me off about Limp Bizkit, but one, Wes Borland is an actually good musician. He's a good guitarist, but his talent is wasted on some of the worst music imaginable. I really hate their rapping stuff. It just seems very cynical, and they're just kind of co-opting this genre they really don't have any knowledge about. It's just we're going to take the superficial trappings of this genre and map them onto ours, and we're going to be and just their lyrics are so cringy. When I was talking earlier about how bands like Slipknot and Linkin Park and System of a Down, where their lyrics felt, even if they may feel overwrought, melodramatic, or just over the top, they felt like they came from a genuine place. And especially if you know anything about the history of those bands, you know that a lot of those people had really rough upbringings, and it comes from this genuine place of where they use the music as an outlet to vent their pain. Limp Bizkit, a lot of their it literally feels like just this white kid from suburbia who's never have any real problems to deal with is complaining about man, I just had a bad day at school. And I fucking hate Fred Durst, and I hate his face, and oh god, and if I have to hear rolling, yeah, one more time, I'm going to fucking blow my brains out.
Easy.
Tread carefully, I guess.
Undertaker's going to come in here on his motorcycle here in a second.
Yeah, he's going to bury us alive, just like AJ Styles.
He's an old man. I can take him.
Yeah, probably. Oh, man. Yeah, I have a soft spot for some Limp Bizkit songs. I'll give it right here. It's not. This isn't my top 10 list of the best nu metal songs ever, but in my opinion, when you think of nu metal and the songs that could probably still get played and still resonate to this day a little bit, one of their songs is on my list, and it is their hit song, which I love, unironically, Break Stuff.
I knew you were going to say that.
What other nu metal bands you hate? You said Godsmack earlier, right?
Oh, Godsmack is another one. We were talking in between our break about. I was they're just. The thing about Godsmack that I hate is, and there's nothing super overly offensive. It's just they are so fucking milquetoast, especially for this genre. They are just so middle of the road, so mediocre. And like there's this one song I pulled up. It's called Bad Religion, and it's literally just one chord the entire time. And you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of bands can do a lot with very little, but it's literally just like an open D chord, just just for like 4 fucking minutes. And apparently the song is like a pro-life anthem according to the lead singer, which I'm like, that's kind of gross.
I think that's a great segue because in a genre, you would think of music sort of like is about fighting the powers that be and just like really sort of making a stand about, I guess, the overall so unfair trappings of the world. But for whatever reason, the bands hold like a very skewed and distorted worldview and also has really bad music. I think that's a perfect chance for Cannon to bring into a certain online incident that he's been kept very abreast of and sort of been on the front lines of this evolving story. Kenny, would you care to delve into detail about that?
So a month ago, for some reason, the lead singer of Trapt just decided to go batshit insane and tweet about his unfiltered love for Donald Trump on his band's Twitter account, not his own personal Twitter account. He is using their band's page to preach his bullshit. And not only that, he is coming after everybody. Like, literally, he didn't come at me. I'm a little offended. You didn't come at me because, you know, fuck you. But, but like, yeah, like, he is just, like, sucking on some D-Trump dick here lately. And, like I'm trying to, he's even threatening people. There's a lot of bands in, like, I think the metalcore genre that have been coming out and, like, spewing the shit right back at him. And it's like, dude, you haven't been relevant since, like, 2002, and even then you've had one hit. Like, shut the fuck up. But his response is he's going to their Spotify plays, all their downloads,
or their Pandora plays.
He is counting fucking Pandora plays. I didn't even know Pandora was still a thing.
No one listens to Pandora anymore.
But something happened. Like this, somebody like did a comedy cover of their song Headstrong, and apparently he did not like it so much and just went on this fucking tirade. He's deleted these tweets since, mind you. I'm going to try to find them. I should have taken a screenshot, but he is literally threatening other people with, like, physical harm.
Yeah, like when we say this guy has gone unhinged, he has gone completely off the rails, and it was completely out of
nowhere.
And not only is he just spewing this disgusting, vile rhetoric in general, he's using his band's Twitter account.
Yeah,
like that and apparently, like, he had to, like, clarify. It's like, oh, these are the opinions of me and me alone. But it's like, dude, do it on your fucking, like. And that's what makes me think this is, like, some sort of, like, weird, cynical marketing ploy.
Because apparently they do have an album coming out this summer that had to be crowdfunded, apparently.
Yeah, because, I mean, they're a god-fucking awful band, and even their hit's not good.
All right, so I found the series of tweets.
Oh, no.
And, again, I don't know 100% how it started, but this is going towards at Sumerian Records. I'm assuming is a record label.
It is a more like deathcore record level.
So, and it says, and I quote, "Fuck you, Sumerian Records. Get your best bands and arm them. Won't come close to what they will face if they come at us. Blood will be spilled. Try it, you bitches. Fuck your label. Fuck you as people. You want to start a war? Let's start a war. Let's talk about Sumerian Records, the worst label in all of history. Any normal human being would feel as though they were being tortured by listening to any band on Sumerian. Your piece of shit label does not have one band that has I think he meant done, but it says down. Done shit with their lives. Arm yourselves, you bitches.
That is very not true. There's a lot of very successful bands on Sumerian, and a lot. There's a lot of very technically proficient bands like Born of Osiris.
And people are also sharing screenshots. This motherfucker is coming at them in their DMs, asking for their address. Like,
no.
Give me your address so I can come, like, fight you or kill you or whatever. I tweeted this earlier, like, okay, and I'm going to say it here on the podcast.
Like, how has he not been, like, kicked off of Twitter?
Yeah,
at this point?
that
is like very much within, like, outside the realms of TOS.
Like, I guess that's why I deleted the shits, because, like, people were taking screenshots and reposting them on Twitter. It was like, hey, Chris, remember when you were saying this? I'm going to say it. I'm going to make a proclamation right here. I've already done it on Twitter, but I guess after all of this, Nickelback isn't that bad anymore, because at least their lead singer didn't have like a month-long fucking public meltdown on their band's personal page. And I honestly think that somebody needs to check on the other members of Trapt, because they may be chained into a warehouse bathroom somewhere.
Like
Trapped.
But yeah, like it is this very weird situation, and it all started with like Chris Evans of Captain America fame, said something vaguely political on Twitter, and then this guy goes after him. And the thing that just like fucking blows my mind is like the people that are like, dude, shut the fuck up. You haven't been relevant since like 2002. And he's like, there's this one like instrumental prog metal guitarist who's just a fucking beast. And he's like, man, I could play anything better than you. And then I was like, no, dude, you would get fucking bodied.
And I saw it last night. Apparently he had scheduled a debate with somebody on Facebook Live. He was going to argue why Trump is the greatest American president in history. I guess it's just coming from, like you said, I think a little bit of it has to do with the fact that I guess they have a fucking another shitty album coming out. But like, I guess somewhere also the fact that, hey, you see all the dumb shit our president's spewing? Oh my God, that's a guy I idolize. I could say whatever the fuck I want on the internet too.
Yeah.
On my band's fucking page.
Because I guess he's kind of really trying to play into any publicity is good publicity because people are talking about you.
Yeah. And do I think he really believes what he's saying? Yeah, definitely. I mean, he like a lot, especially like Trapt's music, very much plays to that dad Republican metal that like loves like MMA and wears Tap Out and Affliction. But like
Jeff Lowe listens to Trapt.
I would not be surprised if Jeff Lowe listens to Trapt. But like, it's just I'm partially like dumbfounded, and it's funny just to see this train wreck in motion. But like, there's this one exchange that was really telling where he went off on this tirade on how white privilege isn't a thing, blah 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 blah, and then someone's like, it's ironic that this guy's saying white privilege isn't a thing when white privilege is the only reason he has the hit that he has.
I think he also said something along the lines of men can't be raped.
That is definitely not true.
Like once a boy, apparently when a male turns 13 years old, he can no longer be raped, which makes no fucking sense.
No sense. Because like literally the day that Cannon told us about that statement, we watched The Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia, and there's like a very uncomfortable scene where a man is being sexually harassed by a woman. It's like, of fucking course of men can be sexually abused.
It's kind of funny how this is coming a little full circle because like a week or two ago, forgot how exactly it started, but he started coming at Ice-T, who has a rock band. He's had a rock band. In fact, I think Body Count could probably be considered like one of the godfathers of nu metal. You know,
I mean, really? I mean, they've been around for years.
And apparently it started off like, hey, man, I have no problem with you, man. I think you're a good actor, but, you know, y'all don't have the amount of plays that Trapt does. And, like, Ice-T's just like, he keeps talking all this shit, and then Ice-T said, dude, one day, it's like, just keep talking. We're going to bump into each other one day. And then this dude has the balls to be like, oh, dude, you threatening me? You threatening me? Dude, you're literally threatening people with murder on Twitter. And then Ice-T he's just like, dude, I don't even know who the fuck you are.
It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. And like...
There's also a parody account that I'm encouraging everybody to follow. It's Trapt Official, all caps, but one of the F's is not there in official. It's official with one F. Please go follow him. It's some hilarious shit. He is he actually finally got blocked by the lead singer of Trapt because I guess he's just finally done. Because yesterday apparently he tweeted that, man, it's been a long 5 weeks on Twitter. I'm not gonna deal with this anymore. I'm not gonna deal with the peons anymore. And then somebody tweeted at him again, and then a whole 6 minutes later he's back at it.
Well, and the thing is, if he really is complaining about how bad, oh, woe is me, it's like, bitch, you shat in your own fucking nest. Like, none of this would have happened if you kept your god-awful opinions to yourself. And I mean, like, dude, if you can't take the heat, get the fuck out of the kitchen.
Because the biggest thing is people need to learn is that freedom of speech does not mean freedom from repercussions.
Well, and the thing is criticism is not censorship, and the sooner people realize this, the world will be a better place. Because goddamn, just because someone says, "Hey, what you said was not cool," does not mean you're being censored.
Okay, now I'm even more mad.
Oh no!
Because this tweet is implying that Trapt tried to play a Disturbed song at a show. But this is pretty funny. It's a tweet from somebody called @BullCutThanos. Said, one time my dad took me to see Trapt play a live show, and they had to stop the show because the singer pooped in his pants while they were playing the song Down with the Sickness. He came back about 10 minutes later, and they played the song again from the beginning. And then somebody actually backed up that claim, was like, holy shit, I was at that show. My friend who was a bouncer told me that he didn't even change out of the duty drawers. He just sat there silently for a while in his own crapped pants and just got back on stage.
God, if that is true, that is fucking hilarious. And we're also going to have to say, allegedly.
Allegedly. And then, of course, he comes back, you're a child. You talk about people shitting their pants. You are as immature as any liberal on Twitter, you weirdos. I'm just trying to see if he said anything dumb here, because here in the last 12 hours.
I'm sure he has.
Why is it the people who are most likely to use the word snowflake are the biggest snowflakes of all?
I know.
For real. A lot of these fucking chud Republican conservatives are just so quick to get offended. And what's hilarious is when someone's like, hey, what you said's kind of problematic, whether racist, homophobic, transphobic, fill in the blank.
God, I mean, talk about the pot and the fucking kettle, man. I just love that they had to change their he had to change the header of the Twitter page. Account run by CTB.
Yeah.
All views my own unless otherwise stated. #MAGA. New Trapt album, Shadow Work, coming this summer.
Jesus Christ.
God, that's so fucking edgy.
Oh, but also Edema's not a really good new metal band, and Vanilla Ice, because apparently he tried new metal at one point.
Yeah, I forgot. He was on. He was
God,
on a list.
he was a shitty fucking rapper. And that's I'm not talking about Vanilla Ice because that's getting in some very contentious territory, but
only responding to blue check marks. Take care, peons. Well, not true.
But it's like I was saying earlier, it's these people, they get mad when they get called out for saying or calling another conservative out for saying something really shitty. And they're like, what? You're just a snowflake? And then in their process of going off on this diatribe, they get way more offended. It's like, dude, just stop, please.
I think his name's Chris Taylor Brown, I believe. Fuck you, man. Come on, seriously. I know you can think you can take on anyone, but you can't. It's over. You've been roasted, man. Did you marinate yourself overnight before this roast? I hope you did.
Because he's going to need some aloe vera for these burns.
I really hope as he's walking down the stairs and that he trips and hits every stair and then just lands his ass on a dick at the bottom of the stairs.
On a dick.
Also, I guess he also thinks that creating a parody account is grounds for a lawsuit.
Yeah, because he tried to sue the Parody account, and then he dropped it and realized it couldn't go anywhere.
Like the problem is like people who are just like legitimately that fucking stupid. They just don't realize like what they can actually do. It's the whole like Dunning-Kruger effect.
Because I really wonder if the other members of the band are just seriously just like sitting there, eyes going both ways, like what the fuck is happening? Because I haven't really made a point to look, but I haven't seen anybody other than him on that
it's
page.
just the singer so far. And I imagine that they would probably have to have similar beliefs, but I imagine even them are probably like, dude, calm the fuck down.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just like sort of jumped ship them.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like they're like any like big name artist anyway. So, I mean,
whether they sink or fail is sort of like really irrelevant.
It's like the problem is like he's also going after these online publications that do like stories about music artists and like coming after them for printing the stuff that he's fucking putting out there.
It's like, dude, we have receipts of what you said.
It's not libel if you say it yourself.
Yeah, it's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Yeah. Like, and that's the thing. All it takes is for him to just shut his fucking mouth.
And also, how dare you try to play down with the sickness? Fuck you. I'm glad you shit your fucking pants.
Allegedly. Oh, that tickled me pink. But in another sort of kind of getting away from shitty fucking Republicans, I don't know, Wes Scanton might be a Republican, who knows, but talking about something Cannon found the other day that was fucking hilarious.
Oh.
The Puddle of Mud thing?
Oh, God, I forgot about that. So Puddle of Mud went and did a live performance on Sirius XM radio. The video was published in January, but it's just now getting traction. And not for any... Well, I guess it's good depending on how you look at it. But they're performing Nirvana's song About a Girl. And if you have not seen this video, please look it up.
Like, we would play it for you if it wasn't for, like, copyright reasons. But, like, it is one of the worst things I've heard. And I've heard some shitty live bands in my day.
Like, Jared Dine said it best because he did a reaction video to it. And he says he's singing like the whole time he's trying to pinch off a turd.
Like yeah, or just, like, trying to rub one out and can't or something.
I guess it makes me feel a little better about my vocal range because my old band, All She Wrote, we performed About a Girl at our shows.
I mean, it's one of Nirvana's best songs. It's a fucking jam.
Yeah. And come to think, I was the only one in the band that wanted to keep playing that. That was weird. I was like, y'all don't like this song? What the fuck? But it makes me feel a hell of a lot better about our performance of it because watching this, it's like...
What's even more hilarious than just what's his name, Wes Scanton or Scantlin?
Wes Scantlin, yes.
Wes, like, just like face planting in front of God and everybody is his band's reaction. Like the bassist is just staring off into space like he's looking into the abyss, and the other guitarist is trying to choke back laughter.
And the guy playing the bongos, the drummer, his head's like down the whole time, and I'm like, man, I don't want to be seen with this fucking chode over here. I guess we do mean to poke fun. I mean, I know Wes Scantlin has had a terrible history with substance abuse. Apparently, he's trying to get his life in order now, but goddamn.
And the thing is like I really do not like Puddle of Mud, but I mean, he's not a terrible singer usually.
Right. I will say, I have seen them live.
It's not
definitely a studio band.
I could see it, honestly.
I mean, granted from his performances, but like it was one of those weird bands. Their first album was really good, and their second album sucked, but then their third album was really good, and then I don't know, they start like he starts singing About a Girl very badly. Like, just tune, like Jared Dine said it best, like, tune the guitar down, like, get it to a range that you can sing it at. I mean,
well, and like you said, it was already tuned, like a half step down.
Yeah, it sounded like, because I know I've heard Nirvana play it. I think the studio version is in standard, and I think when they performed it live, they did it half a step. And I believe in this video, they're playing it down half a step.
I mean, granted that like musically, that's not very far.
Yeah.
But like I remember I saw one of Led Zeppelin's like one of their newest concerts, I think from like 2007. And when they played Stairway to Heaven, they had to tune that shit like a whole step down.
Oh, yeah.
Or like a couple steps down, because like the song is like usually in A minor, and it was like in F minor.
Yeah,
And just so Robert Plant could, because I mean, he just can't hit that anymore.
Yeah, I think I heard a story years ago about like somebody offered him like a dump truck full of money to get Zeppelin back together for a reunion tour, and he said no because quite frankly he doesn't have it anymore. Like he just couldn't do that anymore.
And I mean, John Bonham's son, who was their drummer, who would do the reunion tours, I mean, he's just as good as his dad, but at the same time, you can't replace John Bonham, in my opinion.
And plus, like, good on him for like at least recognizing what his abilities are now. Because what would be worse than a band like never reuniting, or they're reuniting and they're like nowhere near of what their powers used to be, and like, try to carry on from there.
Yeah, it's like trying to see Axl Rose now.
Ugh.
It's not good. Or Vince. Like I hate Motley Crue anyway, but Vince Neil, there's this one performance of him trying to sing "Kickstart My Heart," and it is, I don't mean to make fun, because I genuinely am embarrassed for this guy. It's that bad.
Yeah, he's like making up words. He's like,
like he is just literally like replaced the words with na-na-nas.
Wow.
oh, he came up in the news recently because he did a cameo for somebody. Fucking drunk off his tits.
Oh,
couldn't even talk.
God.
I believe it.
Happy birthday, Jeffrey. This has nothing to do with what we were saying, but before we wrap up, during my research, I found a couple of this is a site called loudersound.com.
Okay.
And I think it lists, in their opinion, the top new metal songs that are out there. I didn't save these because of the songs, even though it's kind of funny, these two songs in particular. Apparently, in their list, Hoobastank's Crawling in the Dark is one of the top new metal songs. But this is why I took a screenshot here. Crawling in the Dark has tempo changes so killer that they'd make System of a Down jelly. Now, this might be a joke site. God, I hope it is.
It has to be a joke site, because like,
and also their number,
because you do not compare Hoobastank to System of a Down in level, especially in the rhythm section.
And plus, I feel like "Crawling in the Dark" is that really to me the song that comes most clearly from Hoobastank of the era is "The Reason."
Yeah, and that is a fucking dog trash song. Like, I don't know how the fuck that one got any sort of mainstream radio play.
And but also number 8 on their list was Alien Ant Farm.
Smooth Criminal.
You'd think, but it's movies.
No.
Yeah, I know.
It's like their most recognizable song from this era.
Exactly. That's why I'm so fucking confused. But this is the line: being remembered for ruining Michael Jackson songs and having foolishly gurning bass player. It's a shame people forget that Alien Ant Farm could craft perfect and intelligent poppy nu metal killers such as movies. First of all, I'd argue that their version of Smooth Criminal beats Michael Jackson's version.
I don't know.
That's a hot take.
That is definitely a hot take. And granted, it's also really hard to defend Michael Jackson nowadays for various reasons we're not going to get into.
I have a fucking list of songs, in my opinion, the covers are better than the originals. I will die on that hill. Covers can be better than the originals.
Yeah, definitely.
Or at the very least, give it like a equally valid but different, version. Like one of the most famous, Johnny Cash's version of "Hurt."
Oh my God, I'm sorry, Trent Reznor, but Johnny Cash.
But then, he literally said that's Johnny Cash's song now.
Yeah, like I mean,
he's relinquished that title. But to your point,
yeah,
because I'm trying to think what other like covers would be better than the original. Like, Come On, Feel the Noise. I mean, that original song's poopy, but I mean, and some people are like, "Oh, it's a '80s cock rock anthem."
And somebody at work get into like fucking arguments about this. He gets so mad when I bring it up. But I think, and it's not just biased because I love Disturbed. Disturbed has had some killer fucking covers. Their version of Sound of Silence I like better than the Simon and Garfunkel version.
That's actually not as hot of a take as you'd think. Like, a lot of people really like that version. I really like that version.
Like, and of course, they're awesome covers of Shout, and they call it Shout 2000, Land of Confusion.
That is definitely a better cover than Genesis.
They have a cover of Midlife Crisis by, I think it's Faith No More?
Probably. I'm not super familiar with
Hell,
Faith No More.
they even have a cover of Living After Midnight by Judas Priest on their unreleased. They had an album called The Lost Children. It was a bunch of B-sides and previously unreleased stuff. Had a cover of that. I've heard him do a really awesome. Well, it was just him on vocals in the band, but he was singing "Whole Lot of Love" by Led Zeppelin.
Oh,
at
really?
a live show. Yeah, and for some reason Dennis Rodman was there. That was the weird part to me.
Did he just like wander on stage?
Well, because like Dennis Rodman does like the whole club circuit. Like you give him $5,000, he'll come hang out at your fucking bar or whatever, or some shit like that. And this band, I think it was Steel Panther. Is that what that band's called?
Oh, the parody of
Yeah, like the hair
cock
metal
rock band.
Yeah. And I think it was them. I think either that or a band like them.
It would like that would be some shit Steel Panther would do.
It's like David Draymond's like off to the side, and hey, that David Draymond over there, and they brought him on stage. Funny thing was, he started singing and his mic wasn't on, so they like stopped the song. But yeah, what would you guys consider like people consider like the big four when they refer to that? Or I guess your Mount Rushmore, especially when it comes to like thrash metal. It's Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer, and Megadeth. Yeah. So what would you guys consider your big four in nu metal? I already have mine. We may have the same one.
I'm pretty sure me and Cannon have the same one. I would definitely say Korn because, I mean, they're the George Washington.
Yeah. Exactly. That's the one I know I would have on there. I would probably put Slipknot. The thing with Slipknot for me though is like their first album is nu metal, but after that they went away from that.
Would you say their first two? Because they had a self-titled in Iowa. I think Iowa was pretty nu metal. I'd think at least.
Because I'm kind of coming from like even if they sort of gravitated away from the sound, it's more like the initial impact.
Yeah, they're no. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, God damn, there's a lot of bands you can put here. I guess for me it would be Korn, Slipknot, System of a Down, and the last one would probably I could either take Deftones or Disturbed.
Mine is Disturbed, Korn, System of a Down, Slipknot. That was what I consider the big four of nu metal. Could you imagine that fucking tour?
Oh God, that would be fucking awesome.
Much the same. I feel like my third one's kind of whiffy, but definitely Disturbed, Slipknot, and Korn. The third, I don't know. I feel like it's either for me, it's Deftones or Linkin Park, one of the two. But I guess
and Linkin Park is a good one because they are very defining of the genre.
To me, because I have such an affinity, I'm gonna like swap out Deftones and put LP because like to me, it's kind of hard to talk about the genre without them. So that's my Mount Rushmore.
Like that was one of my considerations as well. But like, yeah, that's pretty solid.
And the thing is like I said, with Deftones, it's like it's sort of when they got away from nu metal and went more experimental directions is when I started enjoying them more.
I think now that we've run the gamut, that we've seen the highs and the lows, we've seen the history, we've seen the sound, I think it's time for the most important part of our program, and that's lads make a nu metal band.
Yes.
So we got to think about what are we calling our band? What's our sound going to be like?
We're not like making a super group. We're literally making our own band.
Yeah,
we're making our own band.
We're spitballing our own band.
Okay. I got a name. Penis Head.
Penis Head.
About Zombie Fist Fight.
Or Zombie Fisted.
Mushroom Head would probably sue us for Penis Head. We'd be a Mushroom Head parody band called Penis Head. We'd all wear dick masks.
I was gonna say, like, are we gonna be just like regular folks? Or we're gonna have like a monster costumes. It was like weird, like half melted faces and like barbed wires.
No, we would be like Cronenberg penises.
Like the big dick suit, like from the dick suits from All In, but in Jinko jeans. Oh. Have the balls hanging out of the big holes in the feet.
That kind of goes with my dick. I was going to say we call ourselves Piss Slit.
Piss Slit. That's it. That's the name.
Piss Slit.
That is the most fucking, yes. Piss Slit.
All right. And we got to give our... So what all instruments do we need? Do we just want guitar, bass, drums, and like turntable and vocalist?
No, I want more members than Slipknot.
We want the person playing the tambourine.
I want a theremin.
It's funny. We actually know somebody who can play a theremin.
We get Justin on the theremin.
But it's just Justin. Like he's just playing this.
He's the only one that's dressed normally. The rest of them is just like fucking like venereal monsters.
I want to get somebody with no arms and a motorcycle helmet playing the keg. Ding! Okay, serious. We'll make it just a. Do we want turntables? We want a 4-piece with turntables.
We got to get that right.
We got to get the turntables.
All right.
And we got to give these people the most like extreme '90s comics names ever.
So, in terms of band members, we're anywhere between Slipknot and the Wu-Tang Clan,
or like the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. 1,000 members.
But I mean, they're like an actual fucking orchestra.
Like maybe we have a guy that has like, I forget what it's called, but it's like the full body harness with like with a giant triangle attached to the front of whatever that's called. Have you not seen it? It's like this giant triangle that people wear on the front of their bodies, and it plays like this really like deep tones.
I've never seen that.
But I want us to have like a Milli Vanilli scenario where we get a really good singer to record the vocals, but our front man is Joe Exotic.
Yes.
Have like what was it, the midget that hung out with Kid Rock? Was it Joe C? Have him hanging off of Joe Exotic's eyebrow ring the whole time. Rip.
God damn.
I feel like it needs to be somebody like how like Slipknot has like the garage suits. How about somebody it's just like in a full like skin suit of Joe Exotic?
Like you know those the Halloween masks that are like the presidents?
Yeah.
Just like one of those of Joe Exotic. And I guess the lead singer's name be, I don't know, Cum Fluid.
Oh God! What would our debut album be called?
The debut album by Piss Slit.
It's got shit with their debut album. Fuck if we know.
Either something like that, or it'd have to be some like super try hard MMA bullshit, like Tap Out, or well, that's like an actual brand, or like I got. We back down sometimes.
I was gonna say my pitch for the debut album is Barbed Wire My Urethra.
Oh.
No, Barbed Wire Catheter.
That would be more of like a death metal type of, like a Cannibal Corpse type thing.
It's like in our album cover, we just like erase the name Dry Kill Logic and use this as our album cover.
Just something surreal.
What the fuck is going on here? I'm looking at the album from Dry Kill Logic, The Darker Side of Nonsense, and I don't know what's going on. It's like a fatty with warts all over him, and he's naked. Another one, it's weird.
Piss Slit, It Burns When I Pee.
That would be the lead single.
Piss Slit in Piss Slitters.
And with a plot twist, this is in 2050. These guys are like 70 years old. They're just like, it burns when I pee.
You still pee?
Why am I here?
I want our drummer to be an actual robot.
Like
you program.
Like an IG-88.
Yes.
Like
we'll just have an IG droid.
Yes, I'm down with that.
Yeah, and the IG, it stands for He's also the rapper because there's a turntable on it.
Instant gangsta.
I was gonna say electronic gonorrhea.
I was gonna say.
God damn it!
Well, I was almost there. I was gonna say intestinal gurgles. I don't know what the fuck we're doing.
God, we're just
and hire Fuzz, the former bass player of Disturbed. Just cause. I don't know why.
What's he doing?
I don't know. They kicked him out for being a shithead.
Well, now he's in Piss Slit. So we got a geriatric band with a robot drummer
/ rapper.
But like his raps are like, but he raps in like that old school 80s style.
Yeah, boy.
Where it's like really like the more like goofy rap,
But it's also, but his vocals are like the text to speech.
Yes.
Oh my god! Like the speak and spell.
Yes.
Yeah, like in Blank Check.
But like the AI is not good enough, so every time it comes on like the word fuck or any sort of cuss word, it doesn't know what it is, so it kind of just like gurbles over it,
or it autocorrects to something completely different.
Yeah.
But we'd have to fork over $5,000 to get Dennis Rodman to be our hype man on stage. He's just there shouting every third word to our songs.
Let's see. And then we need a guitarist. Okay, I don't know what he's going to look like, but his name is Kill Bob McGillicuddy.
Kill Bob McGillicuddy?
Yes.
And instead of the clamp at the end of his guitar, it's just a gun.
Yes.
Just like duct tape to it.
Spoiler alert, my guitar is a gun.
Like our first single would be called
Why Is There Blood in My Urine? Why Is There Blood in My Urine Part 1. and then the sequel is Why Is There Blood in My Stool Part 2.
Oh, I got like a
See, it's a double entendre because 1 and 2.
That's it. Fucking 50,000 copies. We're selling more than Hybrid Theory in this bitch. Double diamond.
Except we do like Glenn Beck, we just bolt by him.
Yes.
That's how you really win at the music game. You just buy your own albums.
Is that what Glenn Beck did with his books?
Yeah, he bought his own books.
I'm not surprised.
To inflate the numbers. I think we did a satisfactory run of this roller coaster of a genre.
I think so.
The ups and downs and turnarounds, the good, the bad, and the very ugly. So we appreciate you all listening today. Let us know about how you feel about new metal. Good, bad, and different. We'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to us on Twitter and Instagram at AYCH Podcast. You can follow us on Letterboxd and Facebook at AllYouCanHear. You can follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/AllYouCanHear, and all of our VODs go up the next day on YouTube, and that's also at AllYouCanHear. You can listen to us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Spotify, RSS feed catchers. We're all there. Please like, rate, review, and subscribe for all those places. That really helps us out. Just spread the word, spread the banter around. Appreciate it as always. You can follow me on Twitter at John Lost His Name. Follow my art on Instagram at John Lost His Name. You can also follow my art on Facebook at John Lost His Name Art.
My name is Jonathan, and I hope you did not lose your opinion of me listening to this podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at JNIIBOI24 and Letterboxd at JohnOdenSon12.
And it's Cannon again. You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at That Cannon Guy. Fuck you, Chris Taylor Brown, you piece of shit. Doo-dooing in your pants trying to do Disturbed.
He's a pee-pee poopy baby.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Pee-pee poopy.
Pee-pee poo-poo, the story of Chris Taylor Brown.
Allegedly.
Thank you, everyone. We're talking to you soon. Take care.
Bye.